Hey ladies and gentlemen, Steven here from Redolessence and welcome back to another video. Thank you so much for joining me today. I really do appreciate it and I hope that this video finds you well. In today's episode, we're going to be taking a closer look at one of the newest releases by the company Duo Fragrances, and this one is a hybrid release and it's called Elated while Dazed, so make sure to stay tuned. So for those of you who don't know, Duo Fragrances is a company that puts out original fragrances, but they also put out their inspirations or their versions of more popular designer and niche fragrances. One of the things that they've been doing as of late that I really can stand behind and that I totally support is when they resurrect these discontinued fragrances that haven't been around for a very, very long time. Like I know one that I recently spoke about on my channel is #Attitude, which is their version of Giorgio Armani's Attitude, a fragrance that is no longer in production, and one where as soon as I found out that they were creating that inspiration, I was really happy and I actually went and purchased that fragrance. This one, on the other hand, was actually given to me by the company, and so thank you so much for that gesture. And this fragrance is a hybrid of two more popular niche fragrances that are currently on the market. One of them, surprisingly enough, goes back to 2011 and it's by the company Royal Crown, and the fragrance is called Celebration. And the other one is by the company Byredo and it's called Dazed, hence the name of this fragrance, which is Elated while Dazed. I guess elated is in some way synonymous with how you would feel when you're partaking in a celebration, right? So with this fragrance, I was a little bit surprised when I read the note breakdown because I know Dazed has some more sweeter nuances and sweeter facets in the base. There's actually like this cotton candy accord going on in there, as opposed to Celebration, which is actually very bright. It has a ton of citrus, mostly from Italy, if I'm not mistaken, Calabrian bergamot and Sicilian lemon, but it also has this mint oil that is really just bright and inviting. And so I wanted to sort of figure out, what was this clash going to be like? Was it going to provide too much of a contrast, or are these two DNAs going to work together harmoniously? And so this is yet another hybrid that I think would work perfectly in the summertime, and I'm really excited to tell you what I think of this fragrance and more specifically the smell. But let's start with the presentation. So the box for this one is rather plain. If you've seen one, you've seen them all. Just has the logo here on the front, and then you have the concentration written on the side, and then you have the ingredients and the made-in information written on the back. When you open the box, the bottle sits on the right-hand side, and then you'll see a little write-up on the company on the left. Feel free to pause your screen if you'd like to read it. I like the coloration on the bottle here. It's a little purple, pink, white, and I think it does a pretty good job of conveying what the fragrance smells like, because this fragrance actually has a cotton candy accord. And the name of the fragrance is also written on the side. The distribution on the atomizer is very wide. Let's continue with the smell. So the opening of this fragrance, you are going to get that sweetness right away. So Byredo's Dazed contains like this cotton candy accord, and I'm definitely getting a lot of that cotton candy vibe from this one. And having smelled the Byredo fragrance after which this hybrid is inspired, I can see how that's in here, and I can see how that's sort of lurking in the background. So it opens up with this sweet sort of ethyl maltal vibe, and if you're familiar with fragrances like maybe Pure Tonka by Thierry Mugler, or countless other fragrances utilizing that note. I know Magic Circus by Mint New York, part of the Scent Stories collection, is another fragrance that has that sort of comparable sweetness. That is pretty much what I'm getting here. And I think the sweetness is one thing that would potentially limit the use of this fragrance to the fall and winter months. But I think Celebration by Royal Crown is really the saving grace here. And so, whereas I would love to wear their version Elated in the summertime, I think that this hybrid would also work for something that's perhaps a little bit more romantic, a little bit more sensual. And so if you're wearing Elated in the daytime, Elated while Dazed is the fragrance that you wear at nighttime, especially if your state is open up and you can actually go and dine out somewhere. Then I would definitely recommend this sort of a fragrance. Now, how much of a presence do the citrus and the mint note have in this fragrance? I think quite a strong presence, but I think that the spotlight is sort of taken off the mint here. I was expecting to smell this really bright mint as soon as I placed my nose on it, and it's not completely in there. Instead, what I'm getting is this beautiful cocktail of citrus in the opening. And for me, it's really hard to pick up on which particular citrus ingredient is in here, sort of creating that opening. I know there's lemon, there's mandarin, and there's bergamot. There's also a little bit of orange blossom in here as well. And I can see how the orange blossom sort of conveys this slightly floral touch. And it also has a little bit of iris from Florence, if I'm not mistaken. So it has this Florentine iris. Now, it doesn't smell waxy or lipsticky or anything like that. It really just smells like a bunch of citrus laid upon a cotton candy base. And I think that I haven't smelled anything that smells similar to this, and so it's really interesting for me to be able to look at these select notes that have been extracted from each one of these fragrances and interpret a new olfactory experience. So I really do appreciate that. I know the company Dua has a lot of fragrances, some of which are originals, like Pretiosum Vetiverum. I know it sounds like a Harry Potter spell, but I love wearing that fragrance for the summertime. And then they also have one that came out some time ago called Flagship. That's a fragrance that I also love wearing in the summertime. This one, on the other hand, I think will add to that list, but as opposed to it being like a summer day sort of a fragrance, this is the type of fragrance that I can see myself wearing in the evening or in the nighttime or on a particularly chilly day, because I do think that it has the character and the weight to be able to withstand a slightly colder temperature season out there. But all in all, I think it's a really wonderful smell. I think if you're a fan of citrus-based fragrances, particularly those containing a note of mint, but you want to try something that is not entirely citrusy, but also has like a sweet undercurrent to it, I think you might really enjoy this one. Let's go ahead and finish things off with my overall assessment. Now, first, in terms of the uniqueness in the overall smell, listen, it's really hard for me to say this fragrance is 100% unique, because while it is a new olfactory experience for me, in the sense that I haven't smelled these ingredients pieced together before at once, this does inevitably borrow influence from Byredo Sun Dazed and Celebration by Royal Crown. And so it's not really a unique fragrance, but I do like the way that this hybrid panned out, and I think that the overall smell is one that is very approachable. It's one that has this sort of mass appeal factor about it, and I think it's one that can be worn in substitution of other sweet fragrances like perhaps Ultramol by Jean Paul Gaultier or Wanted by Night by Zato, or any other like sweet leaning contemporary men's designer fragrances. In terms of the longevity on this one, it was actually pretty good. I got 8 to 9 hours longevity. I know this is an extrait de parfum concentration, so it's concentrated at 33% oil. So the longevity and the performance of mostly all Duas is pretty good. In terms of the projection, it was really loud for the first 2 to 2.5 hours. It didn't really become a skin scent until that 6 to 6.5 hour mark, but it never really radiated beyond an arm's length. So while I could smell it, I don't think it's a type of fragrance that is going to be overly loud, and it's not really going to enter the room before you do. It's not going to announce your presence or anything like that. In terms of the versatility, also find this to be very versatile. I think because of the citrus, I would be inclined to wear it when it's a little bit hotter outside, but because of that sweet undercurrent, I can see this one being worn in the autumn as well with no problem. I think the sweetness also makes it a bit more youthful, and so I can see anybody of any age wearing this one. I think it's perfectly unisex, and of course the fragrances after which this hybrid is modeled, those are unisex as well, so there's no question there. But at the end of the day, it's your money and you're free to spend it however you wish. And the presentation on this one, the names for the hybrids sometimes get to be a little bit too long, but they manage to keep it short with this one, and I personally do like the different logos that they affix to the label. So my final verdict on this fragrance is, if you're in the market for a citrus heavy fragrance, but one that doesn't rely entirely on the note of citrus to get its point across that it's a summer oriented fragrance, and you like fragrances that get a little bit sweeter as they dry down, I would definitely recommend that you check out this fragrance, because I think there's something in here that is really appealing and really approachable, and I think you will really enjoy wearing this one, especially on a cool summer night. So there you have it, ladies and gentlemen. Thank you so much for tuning in. That was my review of Elated While Dazed by Dua Fragrances. If you own or have tried this fragrance, please let me know what you think. Go ahead and leave a comment down below. Also, please don't forget to subscribe for future videos. And of course, that includes fragrance reviews just like this, but also giveaways, top 10 videos, unboxings, special guests, interviews, and a whole lot more. Thanks again for watching. I love you all. Take care, and we'll see you in the next episode. Bye.